Welcome to Durango in southwestern Colorado. The tour topics that you'll see today are the focus of the Southwest Basin Roundtable, one of 9 basin roundtables throughout Colorado that identify priorities and projects to inform the Colorado Water Plan.
What you see behind me is Lake Nighthorse. It's 123,000 acre-feet of water that is to be used by the member entities. Unfortunately, we have the project, but we don't have a lot of infrastructure for getting that water to where it really needs to be.
The project was authorized by Congress in '68, and that project originally had a diversion point that was halfway to Silverton, and it irrigated roughly 70,000 acres of land in the Plata River Basin. NEPA had been passed in '69 and realized that there was no way that they were going to build facilities that diverted water halfway to Silverton and depleted the Animas River. This was the best reservoir site in the entire basin, but it was 500 feet above the river. So that's why the pumping plant diverts water up to here. What the local people proposed was a 240,000 acre-foot reservoir with the potential then that at some point in the future, if you could ever get the money and the funding, that you could go ahead and do some irrigation out there. The law that they passed for this project says you can't have any irrigation whatsoever. So we ended up with this. It's all M&I. M&I is municipal industrial. We all said, well, it's better than nothing because it did resolve the Indian water rights settlement, because roughly 2/3 for the Southern Utes, 1/3 for the Ute Mountain Utes.
When this was originally designed, there was going to be a really robust delivery system to the west that was going to deliver both irrigation and drinking water to the tribe over there. You know, Southern Utes over there, Ute Mountains over there. And then as the project got downsized, that delivery system went away. And yet that delivery system is fundamental to the project. So why didn't we do that in the very beginning? As some of you have probably heard, 25% of the water in the Colorado River belongs to the tribes. One of the things I'm sure you've also heard is the tribes aren't using that water. And what's going to happen when the tribes do start to use that water? And so when we're thinking about the Colorado River in the future and where we're going to go, we can't ignore that 25%. The tribes have to be at the table.
A lot of people in this area have to haul their water. And that was the impetus for both of our systems being started, to bring drinking water to the rural people in this county. One of the factors is the drought that we're experiencing for the last 23 years down here. Another factor is back in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of the irrigators went to sprinkler irrigation instead of flood irrigation. So the recharge to the local aquifers decreased. So a lot of people started seeing their wells going dry. We're currently serving about 200 taps. We have 2 bulk water fill stations, and we have 940 bulk water accounts. Bulk water customers, they have a tank in the back of their truck. They drive to a fill station, fill the tank, take it back home.
With the La Plata West Water Authority, we have 154 people signed up to use water. We actually have water shares here from the La Plata Water Conservancy District. That gets pumped to Lake Durango and treated. We're trying to reduce the amount of straws or the amount of wells going down into that aquifer. That's another way to protect the groundwaters.
The Mancos River is highly utilized by agricultural producers. We have 49 ditch companies that divert off of 41 diversions within just a few miles of river system. Most of those diversion systems were antiquated. They needed to be rebuilt annually. And so that meant bulldozers and skid steers in the river every year pushing up the diversions for the irrigators to be able to divert their water. Not only did this destroy kind of the riparian, but it was costly and expensive for the irrigators. The diversion structures were a large part of really what led us to develop a stream management plan. So our stream management plan process involves a big stakeholder process. Another big part of our stream management plan was water quality. The Mancos watershed does have some historical mining issues for high copper. Those metals make it all the way down to the bottom of the watershed. And those water quality impairments make it all the way down to the bottom to the tribe and then on into the San Juan River. And so we wanted to make sure that we were coordinating on that water quality information and data and really looking at our water quality watershed-wide.
Welcome everyone to the McElmo Creek Flume. In the late 1880s, James Hanna from Denver bought up the water rights, came down here, and dug a mile-long tunnel to divert the Dolores River over here into the Montezuma Valley, where there was no reliable source of water. The water that came from here came from the north, ran under 160, ran through the flume, and continued on in a ditch around the edge of the mesa down to Toyoak, which is the main town on the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation. It went into a reservoir there. So by the late 1890s, the Utes did have a source of water. However, it was not potable. This flume that started in use about 1890 was taken out of use in 1992 when the laterals were finally finished down to Toyoak and the farm and ranch enterprise.
The Dolores Project had been on the books for a while, and when Jimmy Carter became president, he put it on, he had what was called the hit list, and it was pulled off of the books. They weren't going to build it. And then Cecil Andrews, who's the Secretary of Interior at the time, said, you know, this project could really solve some Indian water rights claims. And so they put it back on the drawing board. Getting Congress to build the Dolores Project and getting the water rights settlement legislated all happened, you know, together. In terms of the domestic and commercial uses, the project has been a huge boon, and that's one area where the drought and water shortages don't impact. In other words, municipal water supplies are protected. The Dolores Project aligned multiple parties, doubled the irrigated acreage in Montezuma and Dolores counties, provided storage to manage MBI's water supply, and pretty much set the water management regime for this area going forward.
If you take a look at 2020, you can notice that all of them are a color, which we do every year to go into plant with 24,000 acre-feet plus if we get any leased water. This is the map we ended up with. This looks a lot better, but we put in a cover crop and tried to get some crop to grow, which is safflower and wheat. We didn't have the water to keep them alive. We farm in the desert, and Mike lets me know that you're not going to do much in the desert without water. So we only could have what we had here for the 3,000 plus acre feet that we were told we could have in April. We start farming in April 1. We have to know if it's carryover in the reservoir, we're in a lot better shape. If it's just runoff from the mountains, that can fluctuate a lot. By the time May 15th comes, you can't even plant short season corn. You're committed to what you can by the middle of May concerning that 40 miles of canal, open canal, gravity flow. Very unique. We don't have no pump stations. And to Michael's credit, we spill very little water. Now we are trying to work through the system on getting a storage facility at the end of our canal. So if we do have that issue, we have a storage of maybe 700 to 1,000 acre feet.